to the distant past in the Bart Simpson time machine.
What the?
Back when hideous dinosaurs roamed the earth and out of the primordial sludge oozed Homer sapien.
Bart.
Notice the large stomach.
Bart.
Notice the extremely small cranium.
Bart!
Uh-oh, roll it, dude.
Before you can be considered for Cartoon Fridays, you must prove your worth.
Let's begin.
Shall we?
Yo, number 5 here, listen up. We got an important mission, and I don't got a lot of time, all right? Just go to kidsnextdoor.com. You'll find out everything you need to know when you get there. The game is on, people. Number 5 is out.
Hey guys, welcome to Cartoon Chat, episode 23. I'm Brian Swan, alongside my friend AJETT. I don't know what that was. It's like I hesitated. What's your name again? I've only known you for I've only known you for like 6 years.
It's no big deal.
Yeah. Why am I in this house? What am I doing here? Yeah. But what I wanted to do, because I haven't done this in Cartoon Chat before, with you at least, is I wanted the audience to get to know you. I wanted to know you as well, and just expand on what made you love animation in general. Like not the Teen Titans Go movie, like what made you love love animation in general. So I think the first question I want to the first question is like first cartoon you can think of, the first cartoon that you
was
saw,
like entranced in.
Yeah.
That's a tough one because like I stayed on Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network was like my shit when I was little. That's all I stayed like plugged to. I was born in '96. I actually used to hate Hey Arnold.
Oh really?
For some reason. I don't know why.
I didn't. I just thought it was
like
generic. I didn't know.
When I was little, like I just kind of disliked it. I think it was when I was watching You Pick Live one day. Like for some reason, I loved Cat Dog and I hated Hey Arnold, and now growing up, it's the other way around.
Yeah. Maybe it was the rap.
I was watching You Pick Live one day, and it was like the fandom vote, and I think it was like you get to choose which show is coming up next, and like there was some kids, and like it was like the spitball contest or something like that.
Gotcha.
And like whoever had the most spitballs on their like cartoon, like it would
go
play. But then some kid, like I think because they already knew that they were gonna play the show next anyway.
Of course.
It was just like this gigantic spitball cannon, and like they just like slapped it on Hey Arnold, and I'm like, I want to watch Progress. Like, I know I'm talking about Nick, even though I said Cartoon Network was my favorite show.
No, but they were so they were both like you just switch between the two. That was the thing. Yeah.
Damn, I don't know which one was my favorite. I want to say Ed and Nettie. I want to. That's the one I remember the most vividly. At that time,
being on and just checking it out and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. It was that, and since we're talking like Nick Jr., the one underrated show that I was always into was Oswald.
That octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one remembers that show. It's like that's a show that I remember a lot as well. But yeah.
No one talks about Oswald. Like, I was really like into like really like chill, down to earth stuff, and it kind of shows today, despite me being the over the top, always screaming EDM, loud music, dubstep playing person that I am.
Right, but you yourself, you're very much a chill guy. This is why Welcome to My Life should really be somewhere.
Like I wish Welcome to My Life was a thing. Yeah. Like I remember like watching that show and kind of just relating to T-Kesh. Yeah, on such a level, like just kind of letting shit happen.
Right.
And I remember there was a pilot, like a really old pilot from like the 90s for the show, and it was kind of just like drawn on paper.
Really? Mm-hmm. Just in concept, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was like animated, but like it was like 2D, it wasn't 3D or anything like that.
Well, yeah, the technology was a little bit.
Like it was the same voice, it was the same voices. And apparently, the creator of that show, like, that's her family doing most of the voices.
That's so cool. Man, you gotta do what you gotta do if you wanna, push for it.
And, like, she's the one that's actually interviewing T-Kesh and, like, interviewing the monsters. Because, like, the original concept was just, like, living in, like, what's it like being a monster living in a world full of humans. And flash forward to the future, which is Welcome to My Life.
Right.
Where, like, they've kind of adapted, like, the world has adapted to the fact of the, like, existence of T-Kesh. So,
but no, yeah, he's not just, like, suddenly. It's like, oh, this is...
Like, I guess, like, I like that. That was a very subtle, like, pinpoint in the show, like, in the, like, continuation of the show and, like, how far it progressed from the original pilot.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, I'm just, like, I've always been into slice of life. Like, slice of life and down-to-earth stuff that I can relate to. Like, I wasn't always into, like, super action. Like, I still kind of do, but I wasn't a big fan of Dragon Ball Z.
I missed the boat on it, and I've never caught it ever again. You know.
Like, I used to dislike watching Toonami, but...
Oh, really? Was it... What happened there?
Because I wasn't really into anime. Like, I wasn't really into action. I didn't like Yu Yu Hakusho. Or Sailor Moon. Not because Sailor Moon was girly, but I just didn't care for action. The only show I watched on Toonami was the Powerpuff Girls when it was on there. And Hamtaro. That's it. Like, that's what I was hyped for. Like, I didn't even like Samurai Jack. Like, because... Granted, me and you did the podcast back and forth, but, like, I had to actually catch up on Samurai Jack. I didn't appreciate it until it was gone, you know? Right. And that's the thing that a lot of people are doing, where, like, I'm not the type where, like, I'm claiming that I loved Samurai Jack. Like, the people that claim that they love these shows when they make a reboot or when they come back just so they can fit in. But no. I genuinely didn't like those shows growing up. And exactly. I go back to watch them and I'm into it. But, like... In regards to anime, we were talking about in the last podcast that I was really into My Hero Academia and the relativity towards it, like how I can connect to it. But my all-time two favorite animes were Back Mongolian Chop Squad and Welcome to the NHK.
Oh, Welcome to the NHK, man. That's a real show right there.
Like, I'll go into Beck first because NHK is a bit more important to who I am as a person. But Beck Mongolian Chop Squad I got into when I was in middle school, and, like, I was still finding myself. So, like, to see a band, like, the story of a band become, like, make it to the top. And apparently there was a manga for the show that didn't finish along with the anime. Like, it went on after the anime, and there was a movie. But, like, I didn't get to... Like, I really appreciated it, especially, like, after I became a DJ.
Right.
Because that show showed a lot more reality to what it's like being a musician and trying to make it as a musician than any representation of media has ever done.
Not presenting like, oh, it's gonna be all sunny, just being legit about it.
Yeah, like, not even that. Like, even the whole situation of, like, how record labels are evil and all of that stuff. Record labels are, like, depending on who you deal with, are awesome. Like, my dream is to be, like, one of my dreams was to be signed up with Ausla, and that's Skrillex's record label, if anyone doesn't know. But, like, that was my dream, like, along with, like, it was either that or having my own label or collective to compete with it. Like, to compete, and, like, I'm already working my way up to that with Council.
Right.
So, to have an anime show me what it's like to actually be in this scene as a musician is just, like, it was really powerful growing up. And, Welcome to the NHK literally changed who I was as a person. Because, I'm going to get personal, but as someone that lives with severe depression and anxiety and has gone through, like, those depressive ruts and has been through, like, I don't want to go outside or I don't want to deal with anybody and has had suicidal thoughts and all of that stuff.
Right.
Like, it's scary how realistic that anime is to people that deal with it. And I remember there was this scene where there's two scenes that really, like, hit me. It was the scene where he was like still in the process of developing a game, and like he kind of had this vision of who he was going to be in the future if he just kind of stayed in his room for the rest of his life.
Right.
And just started working on games and trying to online date and deal with like gal games, and like I remember his friend had pranked him with the MMORPG, and like said that, like the girl was going to beat him like because he fell in love with this avatar.
Yeah.
He like it changed me. Like it changed because like I was starting to become that. Like it got me out of my weeaboo phase, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah, because you know if you don't see it in yourself, then you can just the spiral can suck you in. It's not. You know, very few media can really connect the way that NHK did. You know, and just present it so well.
And like I had a friend of mine who, they were 6 episodes in, and they were so afraid of how realistic it is that they literally couldn't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Like they were so afraid. Like it, like that show. If you are a hikikomori, if you're like that, it will scare the shit out of you. It's like looking in a mirror.
Yeah, that's when I watched. I remember feeling that way at like I don't remember what season it was. BoJack Horseman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he's like looking back and like the regret of like not doing things and being that like that's one of a few where I've had that situation. But like when you bring up what was the prior anime that you brought up before?
Well, Back Mongolian Chop Squad, the one about the band.
Yeah. I never. That's a very unique situation because when I look to what inspires me, what it's not anime. It was these two guys, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller from IGN on podcast Beyond. Those two were the guys that inspired me, and they were just doing their shit. And of course, you have people that inspired you as well beyond anime, but yeah, very and looking back. I think one of the things that, like, I don't have a first cartoon. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the one thing I remember as a kid is like hot summer day, sitting in the basement, watching Cartoon Network, and just seeing the bumper. Like remembering that Cartoon City bumper.
Yeah, Cartoon City was definitely the highlight of like Cartoon City was the highlight of like what really got me like critically thinking with cartoons. So, like, critical thinking, like, realizing that there's depth and there are layers to these people and these layers to these characters. And Teen Titans was definitely that one.
Yeah, I watched, what was that episode, what was it, the season 3 or 2? Where Starfire goes into the future.
I was thinking about that episode.
And, like, Cyborg is just stuck to the tower, and he's just sitting there. He's like, I can't move. And like all of her team is just scattered.
And like that's definitely an analogy for like how people cling to the past. Granted, Cyborg was literally physically stuck.
No, yeah, of course.
Like if he left, he would die. But it's definitely an analogy for how some people cling on to the past so hard that they feel like if they move on, they will lose themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, but I thought that was such a...
It's deep.
It's deep, and it's something that, like, I almost said that shows today don't do that, but shows today do that. It's just rarer for shows, it seems like, and at least American animation, to go so far into
Ravens
like that.
Was the one that hit me the hardest, though. The way that, like, she was just kind of just sitting to herself in that white room. And Starfire was telling about, like, how her friends need you. And, like, she kept repeating to herself, no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing. It's definitely a scary thought. Like, because as someone that has, like, dealt with, like, abusive friends and, like, people that, like, deal with me and treated me wrongly, like, have wronged me and used me, you kind of start to question if anyone around you is like really there for you, is really down for you, or like, are they secretly hiding annoyances and like burdens with you? So it's just like, it's that like
the trust falls away.
Yeah, the trust goes away,
and you just don't know. Yeah.
So you just kind of just keep yourself in a box and keep yourself reserved.
It's hard to shift from that mindset too. It's like you want to grow out of that, but it's hard to shift from that mindset once it's there, because once that trust is gone, it's like, how do I rotate that?
The episode, I think this is one of the first episodes of the cartoon that genuinely made me cry, was Things Change. And that was the technical series finale where Tara comes back, but it's not really Tara.
Which, where did Things Change air? I don't think
It didn't air in America, I don't think.
Okay, that's why I was trying to...
It was the technical series finale of the show, but it was only because they didn't get renewed for a season 6.
Right.
And it was that whole speech, like the ending scene where Tara, like, I think that was her actually coming out as saying, this is really me, but I don't want to be who I am. Like, I don't want to be who my past was. And she was moving on. And Beast Boy is, like, at this point begging her, like, please come back. Take this walkie-talkie in case you need me.
Of course.
In case things go bad, in case things go wrong. She was like, things changed, Beast Boy. And, like, that just shattered me. That shattered me. Because it's just like, you don't. Like, sometimes people can't claim. Like I said with Cyborg. You cling to the past, you cling to the good times. But there's nothing you can do when it inevitably changes.
Completely goes away, yeah. What do you think of fandom when... Because Teen Titans is an example of this, where it's like the storyline is so strong and has such highs and such depth and such quality to it that when some network... We've brought up the reboot situations before, but when shows like Teen Titans, or Ben 10, or if Samurai Jack was handled with less care, where do you take? What is your position on like fandom going out of control because of the fact that
Well, the quality is with Teen Titans Go, we are all aware of it being a parody and not a continuation, and that's what I wish Teen Titans fans and overall 90s kids... Well, not 90s kids, it's just kids that were born in the 90s, but, like, I treat them as a fandom of nostalgia blindness and, like, people that can't grasp the critical concept of animation.
Right.
I want them to understand that it's not trying to be what we grew up with. It's not trying to be that at all. That's why I take it with a grain of salt. Granted, I used to hate it. I used to watch Mr. Enter and get myself pissed off. About like how bad the show is. And like when I just kind of sat back and realized like it's not trying to be, it's not trying to be a continuation or like an expansion or like the next best thing to Teen Titans. That's what I want people to understand.
Right. This is just a comedy iteration of a group of characters that you know.
Yeah. And, but the difference with, like, Ben 10 and the Powerpuff Girls is, like, those are continuations.
Yes.
But at the same time, the one point that Mr. Hanser brought up of the fact that the Powerpuff Girls reboot was in a midlife crisis was the fact that, like, it did things where, like, it wanted to be its own entity, but it also made callbacks.
Exactly. It kept doing the 50-50. It wanted to pull back, but it couldn't. It wanted to get itself free. It was such a dynamic.
Yeah.
It's constantly not dynamic.
And it was just like, it doesn't know what it wants.
Yeah.
So, I feel like if there was a situation where they decided that, it could be a new generation of Powerpuff Girls, that could be a Chemical Z or something like that, which the anime did, where, it's a Chemical Z and, it's not Blossom Bubbles and Buttercup anymore. It's,
new team, new group.
Yeah.
Like we talked about Fairly Odd Parents, just give it to someone new, give it to a new group of kids, go in a different direction, let's see where they go, but they never did.
If they actually did the, you know how Bliss was created, where she was she was made with Chemical W, and she was inspired by someone in Japan that made the Powerpuff Boy. Even though it wasn't called the Powerpuff Boy, it was called the Perfect Little Boy.
Right.
Professor Utonium, being the American colonizer that he is, wanted to make the perfect little girl, and he made Chemical W, and he actually failed. He did Chemicals A through V,
right,
and failed, and then Chemical W made Bliss, and then Chemical X,
of course,
made
Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah. So, if they did something along the lines of that, where it's a whole new professor in Townsville, or
a different town altogether, or a different city,
a whole new town, and a whole new
just another scientist doing experiments,
mm-hmm. Where it's a new group, and I wish that concept would have came about, because it would have given them much more leeway
in not trying to pull back.
Yeah. Because they tried to make it so it was its own thing by introducing these new villains and these new guys and new concepts and stuff and new voices, but they also for some reason kept the background actors.
Yeah.
And then they made callbacks to other villains without actually giving them proper introductions. Princess and Mojo Jojo and him, they all just showed up.
Yes, it was vastly different from the way in which the original handled it, the way in which
they actually had thorough introductions.
Yeah, especially in the movie.
Mm-hmm. They had thorough introductions, and with this one they just
throw them into the screen.
Yeah, just throw them into the screen. I get that that's supposed to be a nod to the OG watchers, but at the same time
it feels a little disrespectful.
Not that. It's the kids won't get it.
Exactly. So who are you throwing this at? What are you doing this for exactly?
Who is this for? Aside from us, if it's supposed to be its own entity for the new generation, but you're going to introduce new kids, introduce old villains, give them an explanation. Have these kids figure out who are these kids? Who are these guys? Why are they just here?
Yeah, that was the biggest worry I had about Cartoon Network, at least in 2016, was that it seemed like we were just going through these reboot situations, and that we would end up in a situation where kids would grow up in an era of Cartoon Network that didn't feature original stories and original adventures. What's so great is Craig of the Creek does that well. Summer Camp Island does that brilliantly. Infinity Train will handle that beautifully, and I think that's the brilliance. It didn't die. This potential is still there. The reboots just don't execute as well as they could. I'm going to pivot here. What is your favorite cartoon of all time? If you could go. Actually, no, it's bad, because that's like meaning. What's your favorite card, Ryan? I don't know, because they're all great. What are some great cartoons? Not favorite. What are some great cartoons? Well, I think the favorite cartoon is a very misleading question, because it means that one could overtake another any time. It's but there are some great cartoons.
It's still a hard question though,
right?
Because I've never narrowed this down.
So Avatar: The Last Airbender, right?
It's definitely in. It's definitely in there.
Okay.
It was definitely one of those shows that had deep character development and made you the nostalgia critic, even though I don't really mess with him anymore after the whole change the channel situation.
I talked to Fumel about this in the prior episode. It's funny how fast people just forget about it, accept it, and they're back to like just being cool with everything again. It's like, oh, well, yeah, all right. Well.
And it's just like, I loved Dog Walker, but
like that whole thing is
pay your actors, like pay the people that you want to work for you and all of that shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm getting off topic. The quote that I was gonna use from his Last Airbender review is like the fact that you felt like these characters were real, that you wish that they were real, and like you like you wanted them around, and like you could relate to them on such a scale, because like at the end of the day, despite them having like these godlike powers,
they were everyday.
They were kids.
Kids.
Yeah, they were kids. And that was the greatest part about it. Like, having someone my age go through these situations and realizing, like, you can do anything.
Right.
Like, if you can take on Fire Lord Ozai and save the world from an invasion, then what can I do? And I'm only 12, and, like, you're only 12 and 15 years old.
That's what I loved about the original Ben 10, because I was, like, 10 at the same time he was... in like 2007, of course, but I was the same age. I was like 10, and it's like watching Ben 10 doing all these awesome heroic things, and he's just a kid, and it was just awesome. It was just cool, man. I connected that, by the way, with a regular show. You know, it's like these characters
regular
that you
show stuff you
just want them so bad. And J.G. Quintel is essentially Mordecai, so I'm just like, all right, if we could just like.
If you can manage to get JG,
if I can just get a cartoon chat, if I can get a cartoon chat, that would be
like, as a matter of fact, all of Brian's fans either spam Rebel Taxi or spam JG Quintel to get Brian to talk to at least one of them.
Either of them, I'd love to reach out and just have a conversation. And but these characters, though, they're just so awesome that you just, like Steven is a cool character that I'd love to, just hang around. Danny Phantom.
It was hit or miss for me. It wasn't
the best,
terrible, but like it wasn't a show that like I was invested in.
Right. If it was on, it's like maybe. Like if you were watching, it's like.
Hey Arnold is definitely in my top priority favorites, though.
Going for a more adult one, I'd say King of the Hill. That family dynamic is like just so good.
It made like
it's such an Americana like just. What's up?
There was this rumor going around, like it was clearly a fake show, like a fake idea, but there was this idea of like Bobby going to college,
and like being on his own. So being Bobby as an adult now,
like Bobby being 18, going to college, and like actually having the ability to express and discover himself without Hank's conservative views holding him back, and. I like that concept because like Bobby was the character that I related to the most, because I was the one that stood out in my family. I was the one that was always on the kind of like the different side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And granted, I'll go political. He was the liberal. Okay? He was the liberal of the family.
What are you saying about propane?
He was the liberal, essentially. And that's what I liked about how different Bobby was, and like how self-expressive that he was as a person. Now, another favorite of mine is Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Of course.
Ed, Edd n Eddy is definitely a favorite because like I related to Double D and like kind of just wanted to make some money. Granted, the one thing that I feel as though is that Double D would be better off without Eddie and Ed.
That's the one.
But the thing that you love about him is that he's loyal to them.
Right. It's the dynamic that works, but yeah, you bring up something like you really, when you look back, it's like, what are you doing, kid? If you were an adult, you're like, what are you doing, kid? These
kids are like fucking you over.
These kids are
like it's like,
and you're like a genius. Don't do this to yourself.
And like Double D is just guilty by association.
Right?
Like he doesn't even have to do anything, but like because he hangs out with Eddie and Ed, he's just guilty by association.
Yeah. Foster's.
Arthur.
Well,
Foster's too, but Arthur. I've been binge watching Arthur for the longest, like for like a couple of years now.
I
Not because like I need to watch every single episode, but like just watching it every now and then. It's Arthur and Recess. Those are the two I've been watching.
I haven't watched Recess since the movie. I think the last time I watched the movie was like 2010, maybe.
Now I don't want to say it because YouTube is going to get on it, but all the episodes of Recess are on YouTube.
No, there's South Park. There's all like Family Guy. Like it's so funny how like we have these networks of just live streamed.
No, they're not. It's not even on live stream.
Not live stream, just like I know, like hours of like Billy and Mandy and Kids Next Door and just
individual episodes are just on YouTube.
Just wow.
Like, and I didn't want to say it because I feel like YouTube's going to take action now.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Hey, hopefully no YouTube member is listening to one of billions of hours of content here. We are like a blip to them right now. We are less than an ant to YouTube's content right now.
Especially to the pretty faces and the million sub club.
To the iJustines and the makeup artists. Anyway.
But back to Foster's.
Foster's is one of those shows that like I didn't think about this
timeless.
as a kid. It is like I didn't think about it as a kid, but the art style, the characters, the adventures, every bit of that show is deep. So it's just so timeless and meaningful. Just having like just the idea of an imaginary friend. The stories that they tell of these imaginary friends.
And granted, I didn't have an imaginary friend growing up.
No, I didn't either, but just that idea.
What they did was
so concept. Cool if, again, here's your characters that you love, if, like, you could go down the street and they were actually, like,
just sitting there. And, like, I like the concept that, like, they actually exist in this universe.
Right. Wasn't there, like, if I'm not mistaken, and I think I'll talk about this with Fairly Odd Parents. But like, wasn't there like a thing where like if once Matt gets old enough, he has to let go of kids let go of their imaginary friends. If I'm not mistaken, right?
That's Fairly Odd Parents.
No, that's what I was thinking because Channel Chasers, probably the best ending I've ever seen. One of the best. And I wish this is where
you wish that's where they ended.
I really thought that it was awful by the time they got to season 10 and they were just still doing it. It's like, give him an end.
Like, the season after Poof was revealed, Poof, like the first season that Poof was in was okay.
Yeah, they were just going through the motions by the time it's like, okay, season 7, 8, 9, it's like, alright, because you got, like, you can tell how well they thought of the show. And they thought of the characters with Channel Chasers, the way that they have Timmy grow up as an adult, and it's like, he doesn't remember these fucking characters. He doesn't see them. He has to give up. He accepts it, and he moves, and he grows up, and now it's like, it starts back. And that's just it's in your face, it's obvious, but it's like, yeah, you let go of the things that,
Courage.
Courage is it's so weird. It's so weird, but it's like man.
The episode that really highlighted me was the You're Not Perfect episode. It was that.
What was that about?
The Kitty and Bunny episode.
Oh, that was
and the series finale where he's like trying to find his parents, and like we actually get an actual Courage origin story.
Yeah, I didn't think that was the finale, by the way. I just remember that episode in my head. Just like a couple of moments of watching it. I don't remember it being the finale.
There was supposed to be like a little CG special that was supposed to come out called The Fog of Courage. I think it's still on Vimeo, like a preview of it. But that was definitely a deep show. Like the scene that really like spoke to me was when Eustace actually showed his sense of humility. When it was like the scene, I forgot which one it was. Like, I know he just had mushrooms growing out of his back or something like that.
Yeah.
And Courage had his hat on and like he broke the mirror. And like Eustace didn't have his glasses on, but he just saw a younger version of himself crying.
Exactly.
Like, it's raining and like I'm getting wet and like I don't have a hat. So like Eustace gave him his hat and like that was his one sense of humility. And like I wish that we went more into why Eustace is so bitter.
Exactly, right? Like that.
And, like, why he hates Courage so much.
Right.
Like, they never really, like, went into it. We've went into Eustace's past and, like, how he was, like, the run of litter in his family.
Yeah, but we never get the reason of, okay, what age did he start to, what became...
What made him, like, where did he just decide to be bitter towards everyone? Where did he get this hate towards Courage from?
Right.
It's just, like, we never got that. And, like, rest in peace, the original voice actor of Eustace. And, fuck. BoJack Horseman we talked about in the last podcast, like how there's one scene I've been wanting to recreate, and it's the scene where BoJack confesses to Tommy that he has sex with Emily, and it's the quote that Tommy says. You can't keep doing shitty things and feeling bad about yourself. Like, that makes it okay. You need to be better.
Of course.
Everything that you have ever done, it's you. It's not anything else. It's not any other entity. It's you. Fuck, man. What else is there to say? You know, like, granted, the rest of that was me paraphrasing except for that closing.
No,
but like, I want to, like, actually, like, recreate that scene at some point. Because like, you want to... Yeah, like, I want to get into voice acting.
Right.
And, like, I think that was the writers saying, hey, like, if you're idolizing this character and sympathizing with him...
Let's not.
Don't.
Let's not.
You need, like, learn from his mistakes. Learn that he is not someone to idolize. And you can sympathize with him, but not to the point where you're forgiving his actions.
Right.
Like, you need to, like... He needs to be scolded. He needs to be... Like, his toxicity needs to be acknowledged. You can't just try to have sex with your crush's daughter and like, expect us to be okay with that. Like, you can't try to make out with someone who's engaged and be okay with that. You can't sleep with someone else's girlfriend and expect us to be okay with that. Like, it's... Like, I love, like, how well that show, like, acknowledges, like, mental health and, like, how...
Oh, no, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant. Again, fuck 13 Reasons Why for trying to...
Over dramatic, just being
being Degrassi, but worse.
Yeah. I mean, like, apparently, like, suicides have spiked at times with the around the time of that of the season's debuting. And it's like it's not a good thing if your show's pulling in, you know, it's not a good thing. What was I about to say? I was thinking of movies like I think one of the Spirited Away will always be that. You know,
I need to get more into the Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah, I can pass you my
collection.
I'll pass you some of my DVDs, but. You know, Spirited Away.
Don't tell me about it because I haven't seen any.
No, I'm gonna keep it. I'll keep it very contained.
The only two I've seen
are
Ponyo and Princess Mononoke, and that Princess Mononoke was recent. Like, I saw that like a couple years ago in theaters.
Yeah, everyone said, "Oh, I remember for years, like people said, I was like, oh, I've seen Spirited Away, Nausicaa, Castle in the Sky," and they're like, Princess Mononoke is so good, and I'm like, what is Princess Mononoke? I've never heard of this, you know? Like, and then you watch it, and it's...
Oh, God.
Dude, it's so, like...
I do remember I was kind of Snapchatting that I was watching the movie, and some weeb... And, like, we were sitting in the front row, but, like, some weeb was, like, in the back saying, could you please turn your phone off? And I'm just like, I wanted to scream back, mind your fucking business. But... Because, like, it's just like, this is an experience for me.
Yeah.
Like, granted, you gotta turn your cell phone off in the theater. But fuck off. You don't know what I'm doing. Mind your fucking business. Like, I don't know. Like...
No, I had the situation when, I think, me, Mark, and Kevin, and some other dude, DK. Yeah, we went to see, what movie was that? We went to see a movie, and before the previews showed up, you know, the pre-previews. Mm-hmm. You know the ads for like Coca-Cola and BGE. You know these companies you shouldn't give a fuck for because they don't give a fuck about you. Mm-hmm. So we decided to talk and joke, and we're talking, and we get a little loud. I mean, we're not like yelling,
screaming,
but like, yeah, we don't care about the previews because they're billion-dollar companies that couldn't give a fuck about you. They're just advertising like YouTube ads, and we're just talking, and then like some family in front of us like didn't just turn around and say, "Could you be quiet?" They brought up the manager. And like, yeah, we got to report that, you know, you guys are being loud. If you do it again, we're gonna escort you out. And it's like,
fucking bitches.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like, we're going to be quiet once the previews are gone.
I think that was your permit patty experience.
Yeah. Oh my god. And it's like, it's so, like, dude, it's so stupid because it's like, yeah, we're gonna be quiet during the previews. We're gonna be
you're gonna be quiet during the movies,
but you know, if
like the actual trailers for movies, not like the advertisements and commercials and shit.
Yeah, those should not. I don't understand why they should get your attention. Why should Polaroid or Coca-Cola or McDonald's get? Why should I be quiet
unless you're working for them?
Yeah, why should I be quiet? I paid $8 for a seat to sit down and watch a movie, and I am preempted by these really shitty ads. So if I can talk during these ads, that should not be a problem.
And laugh at them. I remember like Zootopia is a movie I wanted to actually talk about.
Oh man!
But when I actually saw it in theaters, the Mio commercials for like that like stuff you can put in water and like it's flavored.
Oh, that's that.
And it was like with the animals and like I was watching it with Jake and JJ. Right. And the joke was like, I was like, Zootopia 2 was looking great.
Oh my god.
And for some reason, I think the guy in front of me thought that I said fucking instead of please. And like, he was like, dude, can you not curse in his kids in here? Like, it was like an old black dude and he was with his kids. I understood and I'm just like, that's not what I said. I said looking.
Right.
But like now that like getting back on topic with Zootopia, I liked Zootopia a lot. I liked the message behind it. I liked how it was an analogy for racial profiling and general racism.
Right.
And like how we're not looking, like we shouldn't judge somebody just because
go beyond
it. Look.
Yeah, go beyond just the skin. Go beyond just, you know.
Well, in this case, the fur.
The fur, yeah.
like in the fur. It's just like there's this whole, like I remember the original like concept for Zootopia was predators were supposed to have these like
it's supposed to be very, very like,
it was a lot darker.
Yes.
It was like they're supposed to be like they had these necklaces that would shock if they like if the colors sense like vibrant like angst
sense
or like
any way that they're about to like, you know,
snap.
Yeah.
And the scene that just like shocked me, no pun intended, was it was the little polar bear kid's birthday, and they treated him getting his collar as like a rite of passage, and like he was so excited from getting the collar that the collar shocked him.
Right.
I'm just like, oh my god.
And he's like, Disney. That's the thing. Like I think that Disney could go far beyond. And you know that the writers would write far beyond, but they know that they have to roll it in to a certain amount. They have to like close in the barriers to a certain extent and like keep it in a PG level. And
but they can get dark when they want to.
But they the writers will write what they will like. The writers have a storyline that they
like. There's no telling like how
these are some brilliant writers.
Like the darker versions of some of these movies that we don't know about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there's no telling what's going on.
Yeah, I think one of my, at least in the most recent Disney resurgence, my favorite one was Big Hero 6. You know? Oh, do you not like Big Hero 6?
Love it.
Oh, I thought you were about to like, I hate this thing. Why did you bring it up? No, it's
the modern Iron Giant.
Yes. Yeah, it was
Speaking of Iron Giant, I have...
That's another great one.
The thing that I feel like in this political climate that I've thought about from watching Iron Giant again the second time. The second time I watched Iron Giant growing up is like the time I actually cried from seeing it.
Because you start to like piece more things together. That's what I love about whether it's an animated TV show or it's a movie or it's a short when you're a kid, you don't really notice some things. But if it's well written, if they took the time out to really write the characters well, tell a great story, have themes, then you'll respect it even more as an adult.
But like the political thing that I was getting into is that like I know that the Iron Giant was kind of based around like after the Cold War,
right?
And I like to compare the guy being so paranoid of the giant, like the
Very well,
ginger.
yeah.
I compare him and how he reacted to Trump supporters, because Donald Trump uses his campaign. He uses the fear of the unknown.
Yes, that's how he gets further.
So that's how he gets further, because he's utilizing people's unknown fears, because we don't know if these people are a threat, and we don't care enough to actually try to figure out. They don't care enough to actually try to figure out if they know what's right and wrong, and what's they don't give these people a chance to speak up for themselves.
Right.
So they just want to kill or abolish them or build a 60-foot wall and make them pay for it. But that's the one thing I got out of the Iron Giant, rewatching it, and actually realizing what the giant did and sacrificed himself for that city when that nuke came. That made me cry. When he was when he said Superman.
Right.
Balls of tears. Oh man, and that made me wish that there was an Iron Giant too, where he comes back, because he's still alive, and we know that he's still alive.
Talking about a Brad Bird project, Incredibles. You watch that as a kid, you watch it as an adult, you really get to see Mr. Incredibles.
I saw it in theaters when I was growing up.
Right, you watch Mr. Incredible's story again, it's man, I understand, man, they show it very well, but there are things where it's alright, well, as an adult, you really...
growing up, that's another thing where you don't really realize what went on growing up, is the whole situation of the guy that didn't want to be saved. When that guy's
exactly, you're what, why is
when that guy's literal words were, "You didn't save my life, you ruined my death." Same. It's just and that as a superhero, that makes you wonder,
And as a kid, you're why would you want to... Even as a kid, as a kid, you're wonder who it's... And as an adult, though, you're...
he was trying to kill himself and someone stopped him. And going into video games, playing Life is Strange, being spoiler alert for anyone that watches that plays or watches Let's Plays with Life is Strange. Kate Marsh, saving Kate Marsh, it made me realize, because there's this Max can rewind time and all of that, and she was trying to use her powers to pull Kate from off the roof, but her power stopped working.
Okay.
I liked everyone says, oh, it's just shitty writing, but in reality, that made me realize that when it comes to suicide, you can't just pull someone away from it.
No.
You have to make them want to not want to do it anymore.
Exactly. Because if they don't, they're just gonna...
if you just kind of if you just kind of physically stop them from doing it,
they're gonna return back to it.
Yeah, they're gonna turn back to it, and if you prevent, if you just kind of keep them in a box and make them think that they're crazy and all that.
No, it only
it only makes things worse and only amps up that idea that they just want to die. But to actually talk them out of it, to actually say, hey, just sit down with them and make them realize it's not worth it.
Right.
That's how you truly save someone from killing themselves.
It's the only one.
And it's not don't be the type that just gives up. I'm not saying just straight up give up on somebody if they try to do it, but just keep don't just pull them out of it. Just talk to them. If you know someone that says that they suffers from depression, talk to them.
Yeah.
Speak to them. Don't just pull them away. Don't call the police. Please don't call the police on
that. That
doesn't help at all.
No.
That's my 2 cents of mental health prevention.
Just
as someone that's gone through it, but yeah.
Those, again, going back to just having these character moments where you look back as an adult and it's wow, that's what they were presenting. And as a kid, it just blows over your head completely. You know, it's like that's writing for two different audience members, all ages, everyone. That's
like when I was little, I just thought that it was a stunt man.
Yeah,
trying to jump off a roof, like and doing a stunt, and he just saved him and destroyed his body, and that's why he sued him. But I didn't know it was he's trying to kill himself, and someone stopped him from killing himself and made his life even worse. So,
yeah, I think Incredibles. You know, watching Bob's story, Mr. Incredible. That's he just wants to go back to the glory days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he wants to relive his past.
Relive his past.
Speaking of another Pixar film, this will relate to what do you think? Ratatouille. One of the most underrated Pixar films.
I was impressed with the sequel, like to market. You know, it was very.
Shut up! Fuck you!
I'm sorry. Oh my god!
You had me thinking, oh shit, there was a Ratatouille sequel that I don't know about.
Oh, you got your hopes up? Oh man. No.
But yeah, like I was kind of watching clips from it last night, because I don't have the money to actually buy the movie through YouTube. But
yeah, no.
Anyway, I was watching clips of it, and I liked Ego's quote at the end when he discovered that Remy was the chef.
Yeah, that's the critic, right? That's that. Yeah.
It was something along the lines of, not anyone can cook. However, anyone from someone from no matter where they are can be an artist and can be talented. Like not everyone can be an artist, but artists can come from anywhere. That's what it was. And I highly appreciate the idea of like greatness from small beginnings. Like you never think someone that lives where we live, like someone like me, would be a DJ listening to electronic music in the area that we live in, like the areas that we've grown up in, where like the scene is incredibly frowned upon and it's different. But to actually make something out of it and go somewhere with it is inspiring and influencing. It's like you're finally living out the dreams that you've always wanted to achieve.
Right.
So, with Ratatouille, to see Remy a rat, like in France, where they, like he said, people, like, creatures like us are like, we don't make it out here. So to see him, like, make a difference is inspiring.
Restaurant.
In the city. It's like, it's incredibly inspiring, especially, like, with Linguini being, like, his puppet, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not talking about Finding Nemo, by the way. Not because I dislike it, but it wasn't really something that really hit me.
The only...
Inside Out.
Yeah. That movie was a more... the themes weren't underlying in Inside Out. Like, it was more in your face, but it was still very good. You know
it was incredibly good.
Yeah.
And this is more of a mental health thing. Like, as I watched it before I was mentally discovering, like,
where you were.
Accepting who I was mentally. And, like, accepting that I had depression and anxiety and all of that stuff. And it makes you wonder, like, what goes on in your mind. And, like, it makes you... And, like, with the ending... the fact that Joy tried to prevent sadness from doing her job so much.
Exactly.
Like, we get it. Like, we all want to be happy, but at the same time, we can't suppress our emotions. We can't we can't just, like, sit around and, like, mentally trap ourselves.
In this state of, you know...
Yeah. Like, in this state... unreality. Because just like Riley did... her mind just, like, gave up on itself. And, like, when you, like, suppress your emotions to that point, like, you don't, like, it feels like you can't control yourself anymore.
Yeah, it's,
But, going off of, like, actual, like, cinema and TV, I'd like to talk about, like, YouTube animators.
Yeah, I think the first guy I got into was Domix. You?
Domix I was into Swoozy before I was into Domix.
Both of them are great. I think Domix is probably the most inspiring in terms of just what he talks about, and
he hasn't really done an overly realistic video in a while, but his whole story about breakups, like his whole saga, I'd say, about breakups and stuff and how they feel, and how he reacted to his own personal ones. It was really sad, but it was also really motivating.
Yeah.
Because, like, granted, if you're in a relationship right now, or, like, you've been in a relationship and it didn't work out, it's not the end of the world. And unless you're, like, you are in an incredibly mentally or physically abusive relationship, there's no reason to hate your spouses or, like, hate your exes if they never did anything wrong or if the breakup was mutual.
Exactly.
Just see them as learning experiences. See them as people that you you wish you could have done better with.
But you have to
push forward. Like, I had a mutual breakup like a year or so ago. And I did not I left granted I was sad. It's okay to be sad.
Of course.
It's okay to be sad that that you're not together anymore. But however,
okay to be sad, that's a massive
I came back to her not wanting to be back with her. It was more so I was just because I was kind of moving on and getting into a relationship. And I was just saying that I don't hate you or resent you, and I'm messaging you not to try to get back together. But to just say, it was a weird kind of, thank you for breaking up with me, because I learned more about myself for these, past couple of months after us being together than I did when we were. Exactly. I learned more about myself and, what I'm going to do better in my next relationship. And I wish nothing but the best for you as a person, because you are still awesome.
Right.
I don't have time, me personally, I don't have time to hate people, especially exes. I don't have time for that, unless they unless it's a mentally abusive relationship or any circumstance such as that.
But if it's not that, it's we have a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
There's no point in this really useless.
If they if it's a genuine hurt and. If it's genuine hurt, you have every right to hate them or resent them. But if it's a mutual thing, you both realize hey, I don't think this is working out anymore. Do it.
Right.
And the other person, when they came out about their face reveal, Jaden Animations.
I was gonna say Jaden and Odd One's out. Other in terms of other animators, but Jaden
these are this is the new blood, the new bloods.
Yes.
And Rebecca Parham or Let Me Explain Studios. I appreciate Jada's face reveal and her coming out as with her anorexia and her eating disorders and stuff, because it was one of the strongest face reveals in YouTube history, because they're these fans pressure these YouTubers into that don't show their faces into showing their faces. Oh my God, show your face. But you don't know why they don't. Some of these YouTubers, like I said, suffer with incredible anxiety and depression, and you don't know why they don't show their face. Sometimes people just don't feel like it, and sometimes there's deeper meanings or deeper reasons. And that's what they don't get. You can't, if you love these YouTubers as much as you claim, aside from drawing fan art or remixing their songs, etc., you have to accept that they are human. They do not live to impress you. Technically, but I get some.
But no, just say the literally.
Yeah, not they don't they're not here to impress you. They're here to express their talents and hoping that someone else likes them.
Exactly.
And that's what I appreciated so much about Jaden, is that she was really strong about something like this for a long time, and I kind of knew some stuff in the past about like talking to another YouTuber. I won't go into detail, but like we were talking about it on Skype one day, and like we kind of knew a key detail into what was
the situation.
Yeah, what was the situation about the whole VidCon thing? Like we both knew what was going on. Like I was kind of telling him because he knows Jaden personally, and like we was like we all know it's Bleep Bleep that did the whole thing at VidCon, and so I'm like this YouTuber. Eventually, I think they took down the videos. I'm not sure, but speaking of which, I'm working with a YouTuber. I'm doing an EP with them, but I can't say who it is. But anyway,
yeah,
Swoozie was definitely like he was like my intro into like YouTube animation. Like I know there's like the Ego Raptors. They don't really do like the story time.
No, they were more,
they were doing like story, actual stories, not like pretty much vlogs in animated form.
Exactly. And they're cool, but
like so I liked Swoozie because he was definitely someone that I could relate to in regards to like the whole growing up a nerd and then like making something out of my dreams, like and he was like the tournament player. And he was like his went through shitty jobs, has constantly been rejected to like further progress his dreams. And it's just like to see him get as far as he is. Granted, he's still in the million sub club. Not exactly. It's the same thing with the 90s kid concept. Like I know there are some good ass YouTubers that have over 1 million subs, but like he's slowly fitting into the realm of like the super popular. They're either like have been YouTube like
the YouTube Rewinds
veterans.
They're obviously on YouTube Rewinds.
Like they're obviously veterans, and but they're also like the squeaky clean type. Right. They're not like they're essentially they're not like iDubbbz and H3H3 or.
You're not gonna have any issue whatsoever with them. YouTube will never have an issue with them.
They will never be demonetized.
Right.
They will never be discriminated against YouTube communities despite hitting good numbers.
Despite YouTube being supposed to be a platform for everyone.
Yeah. And I just wish that YouTube was more appreciative of these creators because like the fact that iDubbbz's video exposing Rice Gum hit 16 million views in almost less than like a couple of hours and didn't hit trending.
No, that's the thing about YouTube. They trend what they want to trend. And one of the things that I think is even worse is that they don't have a true like discovery section. Like they have a homepage, they have a trending page, they have a subscription page. They do not. They don't have a discovery of like, oh, here's a channel that's like 20. That's like not me. It's like 20,000 subs, 50,000 subs, 70,000 subs, 5,000 subs. Here's a couple of channels that are newcomers or have been around for a while and are just have cool conversation, have things to talk about, have cool ideas, and let's just show you the other side of YouTube, like everything of YouTube, not just
your front,
not just the makeup and not just the
your front man.
Yeah.
Like show the underdogs. Like show
the real YouTube. What really is supporting the YouTube to being the '1 site in the world, because it's not just the most popular that are making it the #1 site in the world. It's everyone,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we might wrap it up here.
Well, there's still one more thing we gotta talk about.
Oh yes, we do. That's fine.
So I've been kind of requesting that me and Brian do this for the longest because I don't know if any of you kind of get who I am, like exactly who I am and where I came from. But I want to talk about how me and Brian met and our legacy and like what me and Brian have been through. So you want to start it off? Because like I can easily tell my side of the story, but I never got your side of like how you met me and like what were your first impressions of me.
Well, the first time I met you, the first time I saw you,
Summer Bridge, when I flipped off the entire student body.
Yes, because it was a rainy day. You were and everyone came in. with a wet t-shirt, and
everyone was laughing at me, so I just...
Everyone was laughing, and it's like, you couldn't do anything. It's like, yeah, it's rain. What the f*** do you expect? I can't, like, you know, I don't have an umbrella. I can't. All right.
Forecast didn't say it was raining.
So. Right, and it's like, yeah, we're here in the cafeteria, and as middle schoolers do, because that's what we were essentially middle schoolers still. Transitioning. Right. And all that ninth grade was essentially a bunch of middle schoolers anyway. Yeah. You know, that was the time.
Me and Brian were definitely, like, we didn't really talk in ninth grade until, like, we...
No, I don't recall, honestly, too much except for...
Wide angle.
There's an odd cut, because, like, there was a lot of shit going on in my ninth grade year where it's, like, just all the students in my class were all against me because I was, like, the nerd. So it was, like, all that daily, just dealing with that.
And then I kind of had to up, like, my ante was up because I was the fat nerd.
So, like, you had crap to deal with, too. And it's, like, we were both in that odd dynamic of, like, no, the rest of the school kept us in a really, in a corner, essentially. It's funny because when did you start meeting, and I don't want to, like, obviously you want to make this a story about us, but, like, when did you start meeting the upperclassmen? Because I didn't meet them until probably, like, at the end of the year, so it was all the ninth grade.
Anime club.
To me. When did you get into anime club? Because I didn't get there until 10th grade.
September.
Of ninth grade. Lucky you. Lucky you. You saw Kawan immediately.
Yeah, I met Kawan.
Oh, that dude was cool.
And luckily, I came on the day that they were having they were having an Ultimate Ninja Storm tournament. And that was the first time I heard dubstep, and I was like, what the fuck is this, and where can I get more of it?
Yes.
And,
so I think, you know, since I have such fractured history, at least in the beginning, where does your story pick up? In ninth grade, where does your...
Ninth grade is definitely where, like, I got into anime club. And, like, I've always seen you because you had that gigantic ass afro. Oh my god. That's how everybody knew who you were. Because you were just the guy that had that gigantic fucking afro. That was just it. Like... Yeah. And, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, this nigga looks like a black Napoleon Dynamite right now.
Oh, my God. all of the jokes were earned. I now realize it.
And, like, then in November, that's, like, October, that's when Wild Angle was, like, having people sign up for the internship.
That started in January, right?
Mm-hmm. No, like, the internship started in November.
November? Okay.
But, that's when I met you in Miss Sherman's room. That's where the meetings were. And, like, that's when we first started doing the whole bus thing.
Of course. I know.
And, like, the bus campaign. Like, to this day, I still see pictures of you on bus stops.
I don't. So I don't know where you're seeing these things, but... If they still have them after this long...
No, like, they're all old and wrinkled and stuff. Good. But I still see them sometimes.
Yeah, that's...
It's just like, I'm like, oh my god, I did that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. we were such a... We...
That was like...
We worked on something that was put out citywide on bus shelters and, like... You know, again, you would usually see a $1 billion company Coca-Cola ad there, but instead we have something that we created.
Yeah.
On the
like, I don't know if you're gonna, like, actually post pictures of it.
It's probably gonna. I don't know what screen's gonna be on it, but I don't know.
Well, like, I'm talking about when you go into editing, but
yeah. Potentially.
Then 10th grade hit, and, like, we actually continued to talk, and, like, I think we hung out during the summer.
Yeah, I know I hung out at one point with Kevin on a robotics thing there.
Yeah, like, I know you got into robotics.
But no, I think the tech center was when...
Tech center didn't start until 10th.
Was that 11th or was that 10th? Because I thought we were working on it in 10th. Wasn't that...
We got the funding for the tech center in 10th grade, but then it came...
that's right. Yeah, we had to go to, like, the Four Seasons Hotel and all that stuff for the fundraisers. And didn't we go to the Micah? We went to Micah once for that.
No, we didn't go to Micah. We went to some college, but we didn't go to Micah.
I swear that was Micah, because we went to the theater, right?
No, that wasn't
Shaquille. No, I was with Shaquille. I was with... I'm missing. See, all of my...
That was actually at the, across the street from the museum, down the street from Digital. Like, it was the hotel. It was in a hotel.
Four Seasons.
No, it wasn't Four Seasons. It was like, you know that walkway through the harbor? It was like that hotel on the corner. Like, right where the Visual Arts Museum is.
The Visual Arts Museum? The Ritz-Carlton?
No. I don't remember. I don't remember the name of the hotel, but we always walk past it. It's like right where that hotel is. Who the fuck is blowing me up?
I know you're doing a podcast, so. But we went to that,
that was like the premiere of our commercial that I directed.
Right.
And I don't even know if we got the licensing cleared for this, but I managed to get a Skrillex song in there.
They'll never know until now.
Because it was an old Skrillex song, too. It was Cats Rats. I don't know if anyone remembers that song.
Right.
But we never got a cease and desist.
Oh my
the commercial was on TBS.
Oh my God.
Like, we never got the licensing cleared for that, and I didn't say shit.
That's glorious.
But we never got in trouble for it.
That's glorious. Comes back a week later, Brian Warner will see.
Well, Kevin was the star of the commercial. This is Pyre Off Dragonoid, by the way, if y'all don't, like... We got things to say about Pyre Off Dragonoid. No, not that. I'm talking about his Let's Plays, if you get my drift.
Oh, the pop okay. Yeah.
But no. 10th grade is like where me and Brian actually started being friends.
Yeah,
and I won't go into deep detail about this, but there was a whole situation where Brian kind of had a crush on my god sister, and because 9th and 10th grade we were creeps anyway, but he was kind of being creepy about it and I almost beat his ass.
I'll be 100% honest with you. 10th grade Brian, I would punch in the face at any moment because I did not understand how to
talk to girls or
interact. I guess so. I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Just like general interacting with women, like dating and stuff.
Right.
And I know about your past before and like why you wanted to get with this person, so I won't go into detail about that. But we were still doing Wide Angle, and we were all just chilling, and then like we did the funding for the tech center and like the tech center.
Oh my God!
But 10th grade was when I started.
So 10th grade was 2012 into 2013,
and that's when I started DJing.
You're right, because there's a clear separation for me, like. 2012 and 2013 is the biggest separation because that's when it's like, all right, tech center happens. That's when I meet Mark. That's when I get like, oh, the upperclassmen and shit. I'm like, oh shit, this is the upperclassmen. This is where like I start working on DGN and like I'm working on like building the website and like this is where I get into podcasting, by the way. So like if you guys,
like this is where me and Brian was actually we were developing our talents.
Yeah, we were finding our craft. He was getting into DJing. You said you didn't get into music producing until like that next year, right?
Yeah.
So like September of that year. But yeah, that's when I got into podcasting. You can go to like YouTube, Digital Gamers Network, Second Podcast. First video is the first video that I was the host of a podcast of. So, no, that was Mark the first. Mark was the first host of it, and then I did episode 2, and from that point forward, I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So,
and we eventually like turned DGN into a club at school.
DGN. So here I got.
DGN was like where we all.
I got to explain this. So all right. The first iteration of DGN was at the tech center. And then at the tech center, it was like being under British rule. Like like the U.S. under British rule. It's like I want to get out of this. I'd like independence. Because I liked the tech center. There was some mandatory there was mandatory restrictions. You gotta they were like, all right, well if you're gonna do this gaming club, then each person has to write a review. And I like that idea, but like I get that a lot of people didn't because it's like you just came from school, you just want to chill and play games. Why would I want to go and write a long-term review? And like they eventually kicked me out as a DJ. That's right. I'm like, what the? It was very. I remember because I remember during the summer because I actually did the summer camp. And they Fox News, Fox 45 was at our
like at the tech center, like I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and John, he had picked me up, and we had got there, and like I had to set my stuff up, and like Fox 45 loved me. Right. They loved me.
Just impressed.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Impressed by like how skillful I was, and like at like what, I was 16 years old.
Yeah, and it's like, dude,
and
you see the potential in this dude. They like even they saw the potential in like the tech center.
Yeah,
it's like
they saw how much we were doing at the time, aside from just like the crafting and like the coding and stuff. They saw the 60-year-old kid actually trying to do something with electronic music, and like I was on the news. For some reason, it was summertime, and I was wearing a thermal because it was cold that morning. And I remember going.
But it didn't matter. It didn't matter because I was touching myself.
Yeah, and I remember during the playback, I actually went on the website and saw myself.
Ah, that's awesome.
The music was muted because of copyright.
Of course,
because like they got videos of me DJing, and like I kind of took a break because I was tired, and I was there at like 4 o'clock in the morning. He was like, "Where's the music at, man?" Like he was a little rude, but at the same time. News reporter, he got places to be.
Of course.
So I understood for a second. And I remember there was a second time that they were there.
And you weren't, right?
Yeah, they didn't tell me that Fox 45 was coming back.
Right.
And Fox 45 asked for me.
Of course.
They asked for me, guys. Like, they were like, oh, like, I remember there was a DJ there, and he's like, oh, he couldn't make it. I'm like, I couldn't make it, bitch. You didn't tell me.
I would have ran that. You know, it's like, motherfucker.
I would have ran. Like, I would have ran.
It's like, dude, Fox 45, you're talking local television. This is exposure. Can you please stop with this? And they didn't. Yeah, they don't. The issue, I think, with the. And look, the Digital Harbor Foundation, I respect them because the creator, well, not creator, well, yeah, the creator, Andrew Coy, like.
Mr. Coy's awesome.
Mr. Coy, you know, what he did with iDev was brilliant, and I thought it was amazing, and I always have respect for this dude. But what became of the tech center was it became less of a high school thing and more of a. There were two things. Number one, it went from high school to they started vetting more toward the elementary, middle school that was associated with the rec center. So you started seeing younger and younger ages, so it made it more awkward for teenagers, high schoolers to want to walk down there. And then secondly, it went from being more of a free-form thing that was a tech center, like a rec center, tech center, to more of a
mandatory,
imperialistic, this is what you're doing, and there's very little freedom. So, you know, with DGN, right, you know, and this is the perfect storm because, like, DGN under the tech center, very restrictive, but you know, Mark and I, we worked on the idea for the tech center over VGN over the summer. We're like, all right. And at the same time, I'm editing videos. I'm like, this is where I'm starting to find my calling. It's like, all right, well, YouTube.
And like,
YouTube
I was still doing DJ Club. And like,
yeah.
Because Mr. Gavin was like, he didn't really have a lot of time to do it more than 2 days a week. So by 11th grade, or like the end of 10th grade, and late 11th grade because I was
coming to summer.
I was doing football from like the beginning of the year to November.
Yeah,
and that was like one of the most miserable points in my life. Not because of football itself, like playing the sport, but just like doing the activity.
Right.
That still sounds like the same thing, but it's different if I explain. But I was still super into DJing, and like me and Brian, like we were friends and stuff. And I was already trying to work on an intro for Digital Gamers Network. Because that was when I started producing. And
that was when were we talking? We're talking. This is now. Are we going into August now? August, September-ish now.
This was like I said, I was doing football all from September to November.
Right.
So this was like later, and me and Brian, like we were just saying, like, because I didn't really have anything to do on Fridays except for play games, and like I knew, like it was DGN was held in the same room.
No, that was the thing. That was
it was held in the same room.
We were looking for a room because we could not work at the tech center anymore because number one they asked for signups and so it made it even more restrictive. So we were
Then they were starting to do like paid memberships.
Yes, the club would have been so much smaller that it wouldn't have been fun at all. So we moved it over to the high school. And
like I remember,
it was like
there's one more thing I gotta bring up about the tech center.
Yeah, go for it.
When we had started, because me, you, Mark, and everybody from digital, like pretty much the nerds.
Yeah.
we cleaned up that tech center.
That's what's funny, right?
We cleaned it up. We built the chairs, painted the walls. Like, granted, there was more stuff that adults had to do because of child supervision and labor laws.
We built the table. Yeah,
like, we did
all the tables, by the way.
Yeah, like, we did a lot of stuff in there. And, like, I remember there was this little small room that I was like, I wanted to turn it into a studio.
Well, they said that they were going to. That's the funny thing.
They did, but they only did it for podcasts.
Right.
Which broke me.
But the funny thing is, they did it for podcasts, but then they didn't, like... Beyond that, they didn't... Number one, they were, like...
And because there was that one kid... Yeah, and, like, because there was that one kid that liked to DJ and was working on production, you wouldn't believe who actually gave us a donation. Guitar Center!
Exactly.
Like... So they took that and they bought some microphones and stuff and made their little recording booth and stuff.
Of going into
and like that was like my own private sanctuary, like half of the summer camp time where like I would just DJ. And like then they kicked me out of that room and had me DJing in the main room.
Big, like, yeah.
And like they kept on asking me to turn it down, so I felt restricted.
Of course, it's like they kept closing and closing and tightening, and it's like no one like, what are you guys doing? Like, what is your plan? You could see the signs.
Yeah.
You could see the signs, and it was agitating. Same thing with DGN. We saw the signs, and it's like, you guys don't care. You just care about, like, you don't. And it was...
And, like, I'm not saying, oh, my God, we deserve to be back in this... Like, because, like, at this point, we were seniors. So, like, I'm not fighting to be...
No, not by that point.
Like, we weren't fighting to be back
we were seniors by that point. We were still... it was 11th grade.
Still, we're like young adults, so right, like, we didn't really need to be back there. But
we didn't need to be back there, but we had worked so hard on everything in that building. Like we put our blood, sweat, and tears in that building.
Yeah,
you know, we were like you said, we cleaned that thing up. We were there for weeks just trying to set it up and help out, and we helped paint, and we helped a lot. And they just like
we watch it.
They sidestepped us
it grow.
Yeah.
Like, especially me being in the summer camp, we watched it grow and expand. And it was just, like, hurtful.
I was completely depressed the way they pushed us out. No, that was, like, the level of restriction was, like, what are you doing? What is your bottom line? Are you trying to change to something else? And they did, because they wanted kids.
And because Mr. Coy, like, he wasn't working in...
Yeah, I remember Mr. Coy was, you know...
Like, he didn't leave, but he was just, like, working in a different building.
Right.
So
management was different, and, you know... Mm-hmm. That was really odd. And then, so, you know, the Digital Gamers Network was looking for a room. DJ Club was in Mr. Gavin's room. And Mr. Gavin's room, the single best room in all of Digital Harbor High School. By far... You're talking about a room that was surrounded by concrete, so there's your sound suppression. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a room that was closed from windows, so if you wanted to use projectors, it was completely cleared out. There was no light in the way.
It pretty much looked like a miniature lecture hall.
It was like a miniature college lecture hall. So it was beautiful, and it was awesome. And we were the most popular club in all of the school.
Aside from sports and shit, but like...
I mean... Do we count those as clubs?
We were where it was at. And like then I started asking Brian, like, hey, can I DJ here? And he was like, sure. Because I remember the idea sparked from when we were doing DJing at the tech center. And it was like a studio. Right. I was still using that room as my studio, but like the main room was getting repainted, so we kind of had to set up.
Right.
And like there was, I think it was like a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 tournament. In that little stairwell part, like on the other side of the kitchen, and I was DJing.
And that's right.
Like I was DJing
like, very small
in my little studio, and like we were all playing, and it's just like that's where the idea sparked. Where like, okay, let's combine DJ Club and Digital Gamers Network, and clash.
Yeah, one of the things I thought that was the best decision because it made it into a true like club. It felt like an experience when you stepped in, when you went from like the hallway into the Digital Gamers Network. It was an experience, and that's what I loved about it. It was like,
and like since then, you and Brian have been like side by side with everything. Even when we were doing the club fair, That was aside from my panic attack. That was
because you had to watch out for people stealing shit. But like other than that, it's like
no. My panic attack came from when people kept on constantly like badgering me for my music.
That's right. Like that's one thing I hated about the one thing I hated about that in DGN is that there were some upperclassmen that always were like disrespecting. They kept bringing up like why does Austin play music at DGN? I'm like, because number one, we wouldn't be here without Austin and without DJ Club. And number two, it makes this experience would be so much worse. When you step in and you hear, I always thought whenever you come up the main stairs, right? Mm-hmm. You start and you hear this, and I'm like, "What's going on?" It's like this,
and then you open the door.
Yes,
it's like just like
it was like, and also on top of it, it was in the heart. It was in the literal heart of Digital Harbor because like the
third floor, center of the third floor.
Exactly. It's like, what are you saying? It's this is the coolest. Like, yeah, I thought it was.
And like now, I see stuff like High Score happening where they're pretty much doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing.
Where like it's a bar and like they're gaming.
We didn't even know about it. We did this ourselves. Didn't know about it, and this was just like, you know, little did we know, other people are also like, have the same idea, just like, alright, well, a club like, for DJ and gaming and having a good time.
And like High Score, and like they're doing such a good job, like they're just opening up something in DC. They just opened up a connection in DC. So like they do theirs in Baltimore every Wednesday, and like now they're doing their thing on Friday, and like it's pretty like I said, it's a larger scale version of what we did.
Right.
It's like a larger scale version. So like you got the gaming tournaments, and like you got paid, like they have literal paid tournaments and stuff at a bar, and then they have open decks for DJs to come in and play. So it's just like. And I'm trying.
That's what I think. That's what we wanted. That was like the dream of like just developing.
Like it's funny because that was the dream. I remember
like
all throughout 12 we were talking about like after we graduate we're moving in together. We're going to buy an old abandoned house, then pay people to rebuild it, and then we're going to turn it into a club. And then like we just had all of these weird crazy ideas.
But they weren't weird and crazy. They were just like
they were just hard to execute.
Yes. When you have no capital to invest, it's hard to do that when you have no capital to invest.
And like then me and you, we had to crack down because because we invested so much into this stuff, our grades were shit.
Well, no, that was the thing. Like I was so proud and committed to what was created there that like
our grades came second, which wasn't good.
True. Yes. So for instance, right. I had world history class in 11th grade, so that would be that whole first year of DGN. Mm-hmm. By the end of it, I failed the class. I passed my final exam with a 95. I was so
because like I remember I graduated, but you didn't.
I graduated in the fall. I had to take a couple classes in summer school, and then I graduated. So. That's how I got in. Same year, same 2015. I mean, one thing I'll tell you is if I had to do it again, I'd work on. It was like my head was working on what I thought was the priority. Was working on what was was in the moment, and DGN was.
And that eventually turned into the club temporarily shutting down because we were the club runners and our grades were so low. Like club captains, like we can't have low grades.
We can't have low grades, and it did.
That was the new rule. So until me and Brian got our grades up, we couldn't do DJ Club and we couldn't do DGN. But then on the other hand, this is when our YouTube channel started.
Exactly. Right. So, well, not start. I mean,
it existed, but like this is when you got me, Mark, and Kevin involved.
Right. So like it was weird because like that same year, like 2015. Yeah, I was going into early 2015, and it was like, all right, well, we can expand DGN. I was seeing a vision of where I wanted DGN. This is where like the school and this is why it's separated so quick because I was like, if I could just invest more time, but there was like so much time that I had to put in school. There was more time that if I could just put more time to DGN. If we could set up time to do like conversations like gaming, and if we could do more with game reviews. We could do this and that and have podcasts here and there. And I was trying to hook up podcasts with you and hook up podcasts with Mark and Kevin.
Then
and
I was doing, DGN. That's where the AJETT conversation started.
The AJETT conversation launched on that thing, and it was like we were self-starting, and I was just trying to we were trying to expand beyond
the thing I missed the most about high school was having Adobe CS6
and those gorgeous iMacs.
Yeah, that and having because I used to I remember I was the cheesy guy that had access. He had access to After Effects. I found the top 10 free intros. So it's just I'll admit right now, right here, the AJETT conversation intro is an After Effects render that we had to use for a project in class, and I just ran with it. So we were supposed to add music to it, and I had added my text because I already knew I wanted to do YouTube, but I didn't know where to start.
Presents the AJETT conversation. No, the AJETT conversation. Life something. It's life. What was it? It's there are 4 of them, and then it's
music, gaming, and life as we know it.
Yes, and then
starring AJETT.
Yes,
and
that was
everybody was just adding their music, and they didn't know what else to do with it. They were just adding words for grade. But I took it and ran with it, and I audio synced that music.
Right.
Because that is Marijuana by Chrome Sparks, if anybody was curious of what the song was. But, yeah, that intro is a render. I don't know where I can re-find it, but that video is
somewhere in
4 years old.
14, 15 top 10s. I gotta go back in time.
Mr. Dezard had that. I love you, Mr. Dezard, by the way. You were an awesome tech teacher.
Yeah.
You, Mr. Coy, Mr. Gavin, and Miss Giannis will always be my favorite teachers.
Of course.
But,
props to Mr. Gavin for allowing us to have that room, even with the grade situation. He was
yeah,
all the way to the end. He was full steam. It was and that was
musically, Mr. Gavin taught me. Kawan taught me about production, but Mr. Gavin wasn't DJ anything, but he taught me about different styles of electronic music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Because I was always hooked on dubstep until I met Mr. Gavin, and then Mr. Gavin was telling me about how we went to Tomorrowland in Germany and all of these music festivals, and
that's cool.
Then he just told me about who Tiesto was and started playing all of these other he started playing Knife Party and Tiesto and
just opening your eyes to other.
Yeah, and I'm just there's different styles of this. And it's just that's when I got super into house music, and I got into trap and stuff, and then Todd J came along and I started teaching him what I knew.
Yeah.
So it's just we all had our own little proteges, but the sad thing about it is that after me and Brian left, these clubs shriveled up and died.
That was the one thing about there was also a dynamic with with DGN it was weird because it was so there were with DGN it was odd because there was no way that could survive because I literally invested YouTube time. DGN was now a sustained it was a website. It was
we were trying to be Screw Attack essentially.
Well, no, I wanted.
You wanted IGN aspect, but I wanted Screw Attack.
Right. Even back then, it's all right. Well, yeah, but yeah, it's there was so much more that I thought that
that sense of variety where we just kind of do a lot of stuff on one channel, and Mr. Power Off Dragonoid.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Of all the things to do as a 20-year-old.
This was the year of the. Oh god, this was the year where we were all right, we'll put a bunch of stuff on DGN now. Well, yeah. What game did you say you wanted to play? Oh, okay. Well, let's see what you do. Go ahead. I don't know what game.
Hey guys, Pilot Rock Dragonoid here, 20 years old, playing Pop Tropica.
If I remember the quote, it doesn't matter. It says there's a limit up to age 11.
Age 13.
Age 13. But if you're older. That's some Kevin Spacey. Oh, what did you
Kevin do that?
Oh my god.
No, Kevin. Kevin.
What have I done? It's just now I just imagine like having that audio clip and then just Kevin, just a face of Kevin's face zooming in slowly. It doesn't matter if it says 13. You can still play it anywhere. Yeah. Oh God.
Good Lord. Oh my God. Those were the days.
So yeah, we just but yeah, going back, it's like we couldn't.
We weren't.
There was no way to resume it post 2015. Not only because
Ty J tried to keep DJ Club alive, but Mr. Aguilar couldn't
of course
handle it. Mr. Aguilar was always busy. He always
didn't Gavin leave that year as well?
Yeah, Mr. Gavin had
that was right. That was really that was
Mr.
really sad.
Gavin became a father.
Yeah, I remember. But yeah, it's like it's like that was big, man. Because I remember it's like, man, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do after Gavin leaves? And Simmons got that room, and Simmons said, no, you can't use that room. And look, I understand because it's Friday night. You want to do what you gotta do. I understand. You want to go home, but you had the coolest room in all of Digital Harbor. I just want to tell you that coolest room in all of Digital Harbor.
There was one room above it, but that was Mr. McDonald's room.
Yeah, but the only thing was it wasn't closed off, right? So there was glass there.
Yeah. And
it was kind of awkward because you had to go up the 2 stairs off the side. It wasn't as accessible, so no one really knew where that room was. But no, I respected what Justin did with because I also did Anime Club. I was going all out.
Justin was your Ty J.
But yeah, 2015 I went as one. 2015 I went as far as I could. I'll do DGN, I'll do Anime Club. And I did Anime Club, I did Anime Club my own way, and that was cool.
I'll admit, I loved OG Anime Club, but yours was definitely more organized.
Yeah, that was the one that I thought that there needed to be organization, but what there needed to be was just a community that understood. So what I ended up doing was I made an organized club that no one was paying attention to because everyone was talking. And Kawan, would easily be shut up, and everyone would pay attention to the anime. But they go back to talking though. But what happened there was that I was in such a small compressed room that if you were talking, it wasn't like the media room. It was you could hear everyone, and you could barely hear the anime. And it's what am I doing?
It's just no one had that amount of respect that everyone had for Kawan.
Yeah, and no one had the respect for anime. That's another thing. I was this is anime, and you guys aren't even paying attention. It's all right, well, so
yeah, we pretty much had our own little empire.
We had that was funny though. Yeah, we had Anime Club, DGN, DJ Club, and we did all that. And then we sent it off. The one thing with Justin, the one thing with Justin was I saw him starting to, I was worried about him because I didn't know if he could handle it because of course through 2015 it seemed like he was in a depressive state.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And I knew that I wanted him to
be
the leader of DGM, but I didn't want him to have that responsibility and then
alone,
and then have the same situation.
Because the difference between Justin running it and us running is that we were a team.
We were a team, and there was Mark as well, and there was at times Kevin. So it was
and he would have to do all this by himself because there was nobody else more committed.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I ended up getting
I had one kid these two kids that wanted to do.
Yeah, I think no.
There were these 2 kids that wanted to do DJ Club and they never came back to any more meetings.
I think I recall I think I recall that day. Mm-hmm. It was I think I recall when they came when that was very interesting. But yeah, the high school saga is fucking funny, man.
High school was funny, and
dude, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't go, dude. That was so fucking cool because we fucking owned it. We just
by 10th and 11th grade, we took that shit by the balls and
ran. We were we're gonna fucking own the high school, and because one thing that we
I wouldn't say we could have owned the high school, but
no, we both agreed digital should be digital, not Ratchet. So
not even Ratchet. I won't say that.
Fine.
Ratchetness is going to happen at any school.
True,
but digital should be more tech savvy,
and that's what we both wanted to bring to the table. And we did, and we wanted to put our stamp on it. We did for 2 years. And on top of that, at the same time, class 2015 brought in the teacher Dropbox. The teacher Dropbox.
Oh man, don't get me started on that. That was the origins of what DGN was going to be.
That was
like DGN Arcade.
It was such a pirate, underneath the surface, here's GTA, here's N64 ROMs,
here's Game Boy ROMs, here's an essential arcade for you to just enjoy yourself. Oh, and God. We were the reason that shit got shut down,
dude. I feel sorry for whoever made the idea, because it was a very brilliant idea. What if we made a network that any computer could access, so that teachers could send information to students, and that would be fair and easy to transport? But what they didn't realize...
Fuck that noise! Let's turn it into
So
an arcade!
you start seeing N64 ROMs, see Mugen in there, you see, Smash Brothers in there, you see, just... Oh my
Super God. Smash Flash was dominated classrooms.
Exactly. And all these teachers where is this coming from?
I don't know.
Right.
Inserts Dragon Ball.
It was under a folder. It was under a folder that was something like some teacher's name. And then it was Project 64 and all that Project 64 and all that stuff.
Oh my God, where does this come from? I don't know. But this Dragon Ball game sure looks fun to put in here.
Right. Exactly. Everyone just bringing in their flash drives, adding more games. They didn't know they invented Dave & Buster's in their own school.
That was what started.
Nightmare.
When Taven got involved, that's when everything got started. That's when
gotta talk to Taven.
This shit got put into overdrive.
Yes. God, I wonder how he's doing. I haven't talked to him for years, man.
He said that he'd be willing to make a website for me, but I just had to pay for the domain.
I had to. I gotta talk to him again because he was cool, man.
Yeah, he's still on Facebook, I think.
Yeah. No, he's because he used to be Rigorison.
I don't remember that, but I think that's where the story is. Where we are today.
Obviously we've hung out. There are times where there have been there have been massive gaps in time since we've seen each other, but every time we just jump right back into it again. Obviously our next goal now is you're going to be at Otakon. It's going to be fucking fantastic. I want to get a panel, obviously at one of the smaller cons, and then eventually at Otakon, and just progress my brand of Animation Nation from here.
It's just after everything that me and Brian have been through over the years, even though we're not hanging out as much as we want to, we're still kind of working together, and whenever something comes up that both of us can benefit from,
voice acting, that's what.
Yeah, I definitely want to do voice acting soon, but we
remember when you asked me to do voice acting?
Yeah, I'm talking about
but you want to do
us still working together,
I'm talking about an animated thing.
Yeah, I'm talking about what I was saying was that whenever something comes up that both of us can benefit from, we always hit each other up saying
right.
So since I know that I'm DJing Animore, and I'm working on becoming a regular there every year, I'm gonna look into getting Brian a panel and seeing what I can do to get Brian a panel, and if there's something that comes up with Brian,
of course I'm gonna throw it to you.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And because Brian didn't have to introduce me to this podcast. I'm still.
I don't even want you here. What the
But it's just you didn't have to.
Why are you here?
You're in my house, by the way.
Right.
But Brian would definitely help me in regards because I'm still doing at some point the 10 episode takeover on this channel because I definitely want to get into more comedic JonTron-esque
format.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into more comedic reviewing, heavily edited, etc., etc. Because I've been practicing editing. Granted, me and Brian use different softwares, let alone different OSs. But
right.
I'm just
what
still
the Mac.
But yeah, me and Brian will always be homies.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's where we'll wrap up this cartoon chat. This was awesome.
Wasn't even. It started off as a cartoon chat,
just
but
the last.
It turned into our life story of how we met.
And then we'll eventually go ahead and animate this, and it'll be something. So,
Probably look into getting someone to animate it for us.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys. As always, find Austin at AJETT on SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Am I missing one? Otakon! Find me, Animation Nation, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, stay tuned for more.
Okay, and there's, oh, I forgot to press that. But anyway.
There's always a, I was going to leave it on. No.